Cardfight Vanguard means so many things to me. It's a game that both fixed me and broke me. It taught me what to do and what not to do as a professional, a business owner, and an artist. I know that all probably sounds overly dramatic, but it's true. I don't think any single piece of media has formed who I am as much or quite like Cardfight Vanguard. I have so many different things to talk about when it comes to the cards, the cartoon, and the company behind Vanguard. I've been wanting to talk about it for a really long time, but I didn't know where to start. It was intimidating to even get going. So today, I'll try to do it. I'm going to talk about everything. I'm going to share why Cardfight Vanguard was so great. Part 1. Unpacking the Vanguard. Getting started, I'm going to share why Cardfight Vanguard is so personally powerful for me. I want to get this out of there before the more objective analysis. I've been around cards my whole life. One of my earliest memories is getting my first card ever, base set Bulbasaur. I've also dealt with massive self-esteem issues. Cardfight Vanguard was the first time I was shown that I could be great at something. Chicago 2012, I took a Royal Paladin trial deck. I went undefeated for 4 straight rounds, made it all the way to round 7, and outperformed everyone I knew. This was the moment that I realized what I was meant to do. Cardfight Vanguard started my path as an adult. It started my career, my channel, and everything that I am now. That's why I have such deep personal affection for the product. As for the personal reason why I stopped loving Vanguard, my clan has been treated like garbage since 2015. Go check out my video all about it. Now that I have unpacked my personal baggage with the game, I would like to put all of that aside. I know that I'm not the only one who fell both in and out of love with Cardfight Vanguard. For the rest of this video, I will be doing my best to talk about why so many others feel the way that I do. Part 2. Bushiroad stands up. Bushiroad was founded in 2007 by Takaaki Kidani. They didn't really do anything of note to this story until 2011, when Cardfight Vanguard was launched in Japan. So, what came first? The game, the anime, or the comic? The answer is none of them and all of them. Bushiroad designed Cardfight to be a multimedia property from the word go. A risky play, as if even one element of that product is bad, it can tank the whole franchise, even the parts that are good. Just ask Sonic Boom over here. Fortunately for Bushiroad, this gamble paid off. Tatsuhiko Urahara is clearly a lore god, as the anime's grounded story and strong tie-in lore with the game got players hooked. The manga was there. It provided a distinctly manga-y take on the world of Cardfight, if you catch my drift. My drift is unnecessarily horny and overly edgy. Story can only take you so far, however, so let's table this discussion and talk about that gameplay! Part 3. Dat gameplay. If you're here, you probably already know the basics of Cardfight Vanguard. Therefore, we're going to power through it like a lightning round. The board is divided into 6 zones, with one card being able to be played on each one. The center front zone is special. This is where your Vanguard goes. This card represents you. It cannot leave the field, and if it loses in combat, you take damage. When you attack with your Vanguard, you get a flip over the top card of your deck. If it's a trigger, you get a bonus. Your opponent can discard cards to increase their defending power. If your power is bigger, your attack hits. 6 cards and damage, you win. What I really wanted to talk about in this section was just how darn solid these core mechanics are. Firstly, they are super simple. Very easy to learn for players of all skill levels. This is vital. Having high accessibility is super important for a new intellectual property. If the new shit is super complicated right out of the gate, folks will just go back to what's familiar. I learned this the hard way. Simplicity can only take you so far, though. You'll need depth to keep people around. Cardfight's got that, too. The Guardian mechanic means that careful planning and a great knowledge of the game's magic numbers is key to winning. See, there's nothing the non-turn player can do during the opponent's main phase, but during the attack phase they get a chance to counter and play around the opponent's moves one by one. In addition, at the start of the game, there are many cards that had skills that only activated when they were used to guard. Rock the Wall, Stealth-based Hagakure, and Chappie the Ghosty are great examples of these. This is the perfect amount of player interaction to have. There's nothing more frustrating than having your entire turn dicked over by some blue-playing asshole. However, a game gets boring real fast if there's nothing to do at all when it's not your turn. Cardfight Vanguard strikes the perfect middle. Counterblast is a phenomenal comeback mechanic. The primary resource in Vanguard is your damage. Every time you take damage, you put a card from your deck face up into your damage zone. This card can then be flipped over to pay for costs. This system allows players that are behind to activate and pay for more and better skills. At the same time, this comeback system is not so overwhelming that it encourages players not to forward the primary win condition of the game, Argent Saga. The cherry on top is how the game handles variance. The trigger system gives players that love to gamble the high luck, high stakes, and high reward that they desire. This kind of luck can easily alienate a strategy-minded audience, though. Does Cardfight have a solution? Yes. There are 16 triggers in every deck. No more, no less. It's a simple matter to figure out the odds of checking a trigger using basic card counting. This adds another layer of skill to the game. This is some really great gameplay. I am glad that the English audience got to experience it the way the game designers intended. Right? Part 4. The English launch. The West got treated to Cardfight Vanguard in 2012, about a year after the game first came out in Japan. Our first set was BTO1 with Trial X TDO1 and TDO2. This was followed up by BTO6, TDO5, and TDO6. Then we got BTO2, and after that we got Extra Booster 3. Wait a second. Yup! Instead of releasing the product in order, we got to experience the game in a completely scattershot manner, with the same product in Japan releasing about a month later in English, while the original product was still getting translated and released. This was a huge problem that completely threw off the balance of the game. It was entirely due to the strength of the core mechanics, show, and world that the game even survived. A lesser product would have been absolutely destroyed by this level of shenanigans. Gold Paladin completely stomped every other clan into paste when the game came out. Grand Blue got all of its support front-loaded, then would see absolutely no cards for nearly 2 years, etc., etc. Luckily, the game itself was still super fun, and this horrible release pattern would even out just in time for Part 5, The Golden Age. 2014 was the year to play Cardfight Vanguard. I genuinely cannot think of another game that had this balanced, interesting, and diverse of a meta for this long. By the time that Booster Set 15 and Extra Booster 10 were released, every single clan in the game was viable and reasonably balanced. No matter what your favorite clan was, you could play the game with it and win. No problem. Break Ride was a great mechanic that synergized well with old cards while slowing the game down a bit to make the pacing even better than it was in 2013. The only 2 points of complaint that I can level here is that Grade 3s did see a bit of power creep, going from 10k to 11k as the standard power. The second problem was that the new clan, Link Joker, wasn't very fun to fight against. It's not that it was overly powerful, it's just that you had to play against it differently than other clans. Many times, playing around Link Joker ran antithetical to how you would otherwise want to play your clan. And that's never fun. Overall, Bushi did a great job with this season, though. They took their time to make sure that every clan got at least one break ride and one set of support. In addition, that support was fully fleshed out and always helped the clan by filling in missing pieces to make the older cards in this clan better. If you ever feel like playing this game, this is the format to go back to. Season 3 was the best season and absolutely fantastic, just like the first 3 seasons of the anime. Part 6, the greatest card battle story ever told. I could gush about how great this anime is for hours, longer than this whole video even is. So I'll just do my best to hit the highlights. Episode 23 of Season 1 is a perfect showcase as to why the first season of Cardfight Vanguard is so good. It has a fun, self-contained narrative that also builds on the overall plot. The dialogue is entertaining and sometimes funny. The animation is crisp and clear. They show a full game in detail going over every single play step by step. The spectators even comment on the match and not basic shit like, oh, he blocked that attack. Nah. They talk about real world, high concept stuff like first move advantage and card advantage. The characters explain these concepts in such a way that it actually teaches players how to improve at the game. No other show can claim this. Not even any other season of Cardfight can say that it does this. To top it off, this episode introduces the main antagonist, jobs him up, and showcases a brand new clan while making it look badass. Absolutely flawless. If you are interested in writing card battle stories and fight choreography, this episode is a must-watch. I don't have a good transition for the next part. Part 7, Aichi Sendo. When you look at the absolute glut of card battle anime, from the timeless classics like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, to the bargain bin trash of Shadowverse, one thing will always be the same. The main character. Every single time, you have some teenager that likes card games, but only starts playing them seriously at the start of the anime. They always instantly know the rules and start one-shotting experienced players like it's nothing. They always get some bullshit anime card game superpower that makes sure they never lose, or rarely lose. You know, cheating. Aichi Sendo is the antithesis to all other card battle anime protagonists. He's never played the game before at the start of the story, and it shows. He has to get handheld through even the most basic of rules and gets his ass kicked constantly. However, he gets better every time he plays because he's learning, and the show is not only teaching him, but the audience. When Aichi does finally get his bullshit anime powers, they go straight to his head, until he realizes that he can be stronger without cheating. He beat the bad guy, who has the same powers as him, without using them. This is a constant theme through the whole first 3 seasons, that cheating, power gaming, and net decking doesn't make you better, it makes you worse. I can't think of a better message for the main character to convey, especially since it's the exact opposite of what every other card game show's message is. Part 8, the side characters. The main characters in Cardfight aren't really all that deep or special when you dig into them. Most, if not all, are pretty one-note, with average backstories and characterization. Aichi's really the only one that breaks this mold. However, it's pretty obvious that a lot of care went into making the side characters stand out. It's easy to say that the supporting cast has just as much personality and depth as the leads. This goes a long way to making the world of the anime feel very real. Kasumi Morikawa is pretty obviously just a rehash of a bully-turned-friend archetype. The Joey to Aichi's Yugi. What really makes Morikawa stand out is that he was never really a bully to begin with. The only time we ever see him pick on anyone was when he took Aichi's blaster blade in episode 1. In that very same episode, we can see him almost immediately regret that decision. He would never, ever admit it, but it's pretty obvious that Morikawa felt like trash for taking Aichi's favorite card and then immediately losing it. We see Morikawa acting cold to Aichi in the following episodes. This is a clear attempt to push Aichi away by Morikawa. Morikawa feels like a jerk, and he doesn't want to be reminded of his worst moment. And he doesn't want to wind up hurting Aichi again. However, we quickly see Morikawa defrost and reveal his normal, goofy, and playful side to Aichi. This is Morikawa's default, not an abusive bully. Sure, he's still cocky, loud, and a bit narcissistic, but when push comes to shove, he's always there for his friends. This is most clearly shown in episode 13. Even one-off gag characters, like Ninja Master M and Osamu Kishida, are given strangely compelling personalities and full backstories. It's not at all controversial to say that Cardfight struggles a bit with having a somewhat shallow main cast. Yet it's undeniable that its side characters are the best in the business. My favorite character is Nita Shin. There's so many reasons why. He's a single dad who would do anything to make his adopted daughter feel happy and safe. He gave up his own career, love life, and dreams just to protect hers. Nita Shin is my role model. In many ways, he's a role model and mentor to the main cast as well. At many points in the show, he offers up advice that's genuinely great. Here's just a sampling. Wow! This has been some really amazing stuff. I hope Cardfight Vanguard continues to be great for a long time to come. Part 10. When Cardfight Vanguard stopped being great. When Legion started, we were all riding high off the golden age. And let me tell you, Legion could have been the second golden age. I talked about how great the mechanics were in this video right here. The anime was jumping the shark a bit, but it was still a fun time. Legion lasted a single month in English. No, I'm not joking. From the time that the first Legion came out, Fighters Collection 2014, to the first Stride, Booster Set 16 VE, was one single month. They created the greatest mechanic the game had ever seen, and instead of giving it the brake ride treatment of taking their time to slowly roll it out to every single clan and make the game a beautiful, balanced experience, they said, fuck it, here's an extra deck that doesn't work with anything that's previously been made. Buy all new shit. Fuck you! Bushiroad has a long, illustrious history of having good ideas and then executing them horribly. Limit Break was a good idea. A way to make certain skills require a damage threshold, but not cost counterblast. Okay, neat. Why does every skill need to be Limit Break? If a skill costs 3 or more counterblast, making it Limit Break is about as useful as putting a screen door on a submarine. Break Ride was totally fine. Legion was undercooked, and Pale Moon, to this day, only ever got one Legion. Stride was an okay idea to give universal power cards to clans. Therefore, no matter what archetype you're using, you'll always have a boss. However, for the reasons I outlined in this video, it was horrible. G-Guardians were even worse. Good idea. Let's build stronger defense options because strides have too big of numbers. Execution. 16 card G-Zone good. No problems here. It don't make G-Unit only card that matter at all. This good. make deck building dum-dum easy because you just run all G cards for a clan. This good. Me smart. So, yeah, it's pretty obvious that G was the Dark Ages for this game. The anime, well, that certainly didn't help. Part 11, when the anime stopped being great. And it's all this asshole's fault. Just putting these two Find the Pro Tag pictures side by side should tell you everything you need to know. Chrono Shindo isn't just another made-by-the-mold anime protagonist. He's the physical embodiment of the mold itself. He's a too-cool-for-school, aloof badass who's an abrasive douche to everyone, yet everybody still wants to ride his dick for no goddamn reason. He's never played card games before because that's nerd shit. But one day a deck of cards mysteriously shows up in his locker. So he goes to his local card shop to sell the cards, but plays the game anyway because why not? How hard could it be? And in his first game he creams one of the protagonists from the previous series. No biggie. So Chrono's like, whatever, I guess I'll play this loser game for smelly nerds and never lose because I'm so cool. Anyway, it turns out that he's also the super special destined super child mega ultra special snowflake that the whole world revolves around. That's cool, I guess. Except no, it's not. It's not cool. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. How do you go from Aichi Sendo, the exact opposite of every card battle protagonist ever, to what if Kirito played card games? Seriously, how do you fuck that up? Oh, and don't worry. The rest of the cast sucks too. Part 12. The rest of the cast. We already talked about how the main cast in the original series wasn't great. They were mostly just stereotypes. Same is true in G, but worse. The reason being is that, for some reason, the G anime decides that we weren't here to see card games. We were here to see a mediocre slice-of-life anime. This change in format just highlights how the Cardfight series does a terrible job in creating interesting lead characters. Both Richie Rich and Token Female are so boring and uninteresting, I really don't have much to talk about. However, I have a ton to talk about when it comes to the side characters. In the promotional material leading up to G, Kamui from the OG cast was featured heavily. While Kamui was easily the worst of the original cast, his personality consisted of being annoying and hyperactive with a short fuse. Kamui's entire list of motivations all revolved around baning Aichi's sister, and he's like 12, so that's not great. However, he was the perfect candidate to be the main character for a new series. We already know this character, and we know he's skilled at the game, so it gives us an excuse to jump right into the action for this character to win way more than he loses. What actually happens is that Kamui teaches Chrono how to play in episode 1, then does nothing for the rest of the series. Great! But Kamui's not what I really wanted to complain about in this segment. What I wanted to talk about was how the writing team created a trio of characters that would have been the perfect stars of G, possibly have rivaled the original cast, and would have made the show absolutely classic. I am, of course, talking about...
Together we three form... Team Trinity Dragon!
Part 13. We are the real main characters. Tsunedo is perfect to lead the show. He's a brash, arrogant know-it-all who talks over everyone. He does whatever he wants, regardless of other opinions, and will make fun of anyone without restraint. He's a lot like Chrono in many ways. But there are two key differences. One, he actually loses at the game of Cardfight Vanguard. Two, no one likes Tsunedo. Unlike with Chrono, people actually call Tsunedo out for his bullshit, don't want to be around him, and actively dislike him. There are real repercussions for Tsunedo's dickish behavior. Tsunedo is the extrovert of his group, and he kind of pushes his two friends around when the series starts. But as it progresses, we see that Tsunedo changes, works together, and respects his team more and more. This is what we like to call character development. Speaking of his teammates, Kay is pretty much perfect as is. A quiet, reserved, gentle giant that becomes more outspoken as the series progresses. Carl is where I'd want to make a few changes. He's the tech and stats nerd of the group, and that's all good. However, when I first saw his character design and promotional material, I wasn't 100% sure if he was male or female. Since I'm reworking these characters to be the theoretical leads of the series, I would want to run with this idea. Change Carl to a girl who hides her gender because she takes part in a traditionally male sport, card games. This would have strong, real-world ties to how women are treated in card game communities and would be a cool callback to the other real-world themes of the first 3 seasons. Later on in the series, Carl can reveal to her teammates that she's actually a girl. They both respond with, "We know. It doesn't matter. Carl is Carl, and Carl is our friend. That's what's important." Wouldn't that be nice? I think that would be nice. To top it off, Team Tri-3, God, I hate that fucking name, would actually work really well in a supporting role. Richie Rich is just used as a Deus Ex Machina character. "Oh, we need to get to this place, but we won't make it in time." "That's okay, I know a guy who owns a helicopter." Chrono, being the MacGuffin of the series, wouldn't come off as aggravating Mary Sue bullshit if he's not the main character and is instead just a MacGuffin. As for Tokoha, well, I think it's time to talk about how women are presented in this show at large. Part 14. It's time to talk about women in anime. Okay, look. I know there will be a certain subsection of y'all that are gonna hate this part. However, it's really important. One of my foundational beliefs as a creator is that card games are for everyone. Not that every game is for everyone, but the medium as a whole is. The art of card games is my favorite way of self-expression, and I want everyone, and I mean everyone, to experience and enjoy it too. The sad reality is that the TCG community isn't welcoming, especially not to women. I've been part of the problem before. I won't deny that. And I am sorry. It has taken and continues to take a lot of work to be the person I want to be, to help bring people in and not push them out. This blame doesn't just lie on us, the community. It also lies with the companies that make the games we love so much. The way female characters are portrayed in these products are a huge reason why women in general want nothing to do with card games. That being said, Bushiroad kinda nailed it with the first season of Cardfight Vanguard. Misaki Tokura is the female lead, and she's the exact opposite of what most leading ladies are in anime. She's not romantically interested in Aichi, or anyone in the main cast for that matter. Her proportions are not completely ridiculous. She spends most of her time looking like a street punk and not a sex object. The camera doesn't treat her like eye candy. She has her own goals and motives while being just as powerful as the boys. Misaki is how you do female representation in this kind of media. Is it super sad that the best female character in card battle anime history is nothing but Dead Parents Archetype Beta, the stern and stoic one? Yeah, but come on, baby steps. The rest of the female characters in Season 1 aren't half bad either. First off, Misaki isn't the only female character. Yeah, it's depressing that having more than 1 or 2 female characters is noteworthy. Asuka, at first blush, seems like everything negative I've been talking about. Asuka is very curvy, and the camera lets you know it. She dresses sexily. Her entire character is built around being in love with a man. However, her sexualization kinda works for this character. She's teamed up with Ren, the hot man of the series, making the fan service not seem so one-sided. Including a fan service character or two is fine and fun, just don't make them your central focus. Also, Asuka is clearly stylized after the femme fatale archetype, so her outfit and overt sexing up makes sense and doesn't feel forced. Ultra Rares serve as the exposition machines for Season 1. They are all female and attractive, but not to an unbelievable degree. They play the role of pop stars, so when they are on stage, they are wearing sexy costumes. Off stage, though, normal clothes. To top it off, Korin is a genuine badass with tons of agency. Suiko does a great job of being the mysterious mystic, and, Rekka's here too, I guess. If the first season did such a good job, clearly the rest of the series did too, right? Let's talk about Tokoha. Tokoha is the Misaki replacement in G. And, good God, is she obviously just the token female. While Tokoha isn't overly sexualized, her avatar on Cray sure as hell is. Just thinking about how every new version of Asho loses more and more clothes than the last form just makes my skin crawl. Every single action Tokoha makes in this series is dictated by a man in her life. This probably sounds like an over-exaggeration to the G fans in my audience, but hear me out. In the first season of G, Tokoha has a massive inferiority complex about being compared to her famous brother, and does what she can to overcome that. Honestly, not a bad start to this character. Let's see what she does next. She teams up with the two guys in a tournament because they asked her to do it, and... that's it? She literally sits out of a whole mini-arc at the Stargate branch to give the boys time to shine. Fucking really? Okay. Tokoha doesn't even have a summary for Season 3 on the wiki. That tells you all you need to know about that. So, now we get to the end of G. At this point, Tokoha has moved to Paris to get away from Cardfight and her brother's shadow. She's trying to become her own woman and expand her horizons. Until she meets a man, falls in love with him after spending less than 24 hours together, and completely reverts back into what she was doing before, all because this guy she barely knew died in a car crash. What in the name of Ozzy Dahaka was that shit? But don't worry, it gets worse. Reboot time! I literally could not finish Vanguard V, and it's all because of how Bushiroad bastardized Misaki. She is sexed up considerably, wears midriff-bearing tops, short, tight skirts all the time, and even makes a point of showing her high heels off to the camera. Misaki not being able to run because her clothes are too sexy is so out of character, it makes me wonder if the entirety of Season 1 was just a mass hallucination we all shared. The exact point where I gave up was in episode 20. Misaki jumps over the desk to protect Aichi from Ren. Cool, that's in character. Does she grab Aichi's hand and run? Push Ren away? Tell Ren to get out of her store? Stand between the two and challenge Ren to a card fight? Nope! She wraps her arms around Aichi and pulls him to her chest. And that's when I dropped the show. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I would not be surprised to learn if some of the female fans felt the same way. I know that all of V is based on the manga, but the manga is shit. And I don't care. They could have changed it, they could have fixed it, or they could have just done something new. Speaking of something new, does the Nita Shin arc do any better? Oh no. I was actually excited about Eska going in. She looked to be this intimidating, shrewd businesswoman with no scruples. An awesome bad guy. Too bad she spends most of the series run not in a suit, but in bikinis and skin-tight catsuits. Oh boy, do the animators love drawing her in that shit. The way the camera treats Eska makes me physically nauseous. There's even this implied thing between Eska and Shin, even though he's, like, half her age. Now, on to the most important part of this segment. Why does any of this matter? Who cares if the main girl is sexy? What does that matter? Fan service is fun service. As we talked about earlier, Aichi is such a fantastic character because of how easy it is to relate to him, for the audience to grow with him. So who do you think young girls watching these shows are meant to click with? The female lead. It's so important to have a positive character for young minds to connect with, bond with, and grow with in these shows. If the character that represents those young girls is treated as nothing more than a Barbie doll to make goo-goo eyes at the boys, that is bad. I'm sure that some folks don't even fully realize that not having representation for them is why they just couldn't get into these kinds of shows as a kid. But it's undeniable that it's a factor as to why women just don't play card games. Not to mention, the shows treating girls like this are just going to reinforce that creepy and gross attitudes that many hardcore gamers, TM, have towards women. Whew, wow, that was really heavy. Let's go back to G Season 1 and talk about something funny. Part 15. Wait, how is Kenzaki the villain again? Kenzaki did nothing wrong. I'm right. Everyone else is wrong. Listen to me. Fuck you. So Kenzaki runs the Pokemon gym, but for card games, right? It offers all these classes, a workout facility, food and shit. It's dope. And it's for people who want to get good. The strictness and focus on getting good at the game is framed as a bad thing in this show, but like, why? If you don't like it there, no one's stopping you from leaving. They straight up show people quitting and walking out no problem multiple times. There's a happy fun times let's all be friends gym for casual pussies less than an hour's train ride away. Y'all can just go there if you don't like it. We see people do that. So how this training program works is that if you lose, you need to repeat your fundamental lessons. While this does seem crazy in the real world, this is anime world we're talking about. Tournaments are best of one and everyone is just okay with that. Of course things are going to be a bit over the top and cartoony. It's a cartoon! So yeah, if you fail at a higher level, it just makes sense that you have to go back and practice your fundamentals again. That's just good training. Kenzaki's motto, weakness is a sin, is something that I unironically like. When he says this, he's not saying losing is a sin, even though most people read it that way. What he's really saying is that giving up is a sin. This is most clearly shown after Team Demise loses once, then quits the program rather than trying again. After they give up, then and only then does Kenzaki call them weak. I fucking love it. There's this whole scene where a kid named Tayo is going to Kenzaki's gym. He's peer pressured to ditch his classes and dick around at an amusement park with Chrono. While at the park, one of Kenzaki's personnel finds Tayo and says, "Oh good, I found you. You missed your classes. Let's go get those done." Kenzaki and his security team were such upstanding citizens that they noticed a young child didn't show up for classes that he signed up for. Kenzaki then dispatched said security team to find the kid and make sure he was okay and not kidnapped or dead. Genuinely great guy. What does Chrono do? Bullies the security guard so badly that the grown man breaks down into tears. What the fuck, Chrono? Why are you such an asshole, and why are there no consequences for your actions? Later on, Tayo gets good at the game and makes friends at Kenzaki's gym. When Tayo goes to introduce his new friends to Chrono, what does Chrono do? A. Congratulate his little buddy on getting good. B. Introduce himself to the other kids. C. Tells Tayo that no one else can be Tayo's friend but Chrono. Or D. Invites everyone over to the place where he plays. If you answered C, you win! And once again, there's absolutely no repercussions for this. Why? Because Chrono's good at the game. That's why. Everything's forgiven if you just win all the time. Wait a second. Isn't that what the villain of this season is supposed to stand for? Huh. But hey, at least it gets worse. Part 16. I give up. I don't have a whole lot to say about Gears Crisis because nothing really happens in this season. It's just Try 3 curb stomping the previous series cast over and over again. Like, they didn't have to win every single branch challenge, but they did. Because what are stakes when you're the Gear Chronicles Singularity? Or whatever. Stridegate is where the show and the game just gets completely derailed, and they never really recover. I already talked about what a terrible idea bumping up the G-Zone was, so let's just talk about the anime. Yeah, just like with V-Series, there's a distinct moment that I can pinpoint where I said, that tears it, I'm done. It was episode 32. In this episode, a monster card comes to life and punches Ibuki into a stone statue so hard that it explodes. In the following episode, Ibuki just shrugs it off and goes on a bazooka car chase. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how to ensure that your story has zero goddamn stakes or believability. We are not in an actual world anymore. We are in Looney Tunes.
Son of a bitch is dug in like an Alabama tick.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh. Okay.
Part 17. Cardfight dies. What's funny is that the only two things I actually liked about G show up right at the end. You know how in this world Cray is real and humans can ride units? Well, Next and Z posit, what if units can ride humans? This is a really interesting concept with tons of potential. That potential pretty much just goes to waste, and all the units that ride people that come to Earth are one-note baddies for Special Chrono to beat up with ease, just like always. But hey, on paper it was a good idea. The second thing I liked was how Darkface and Ghidorah were written. These two characters are both sentient insects, and they genuinely act like it. Ghidorah is the queen of the colony that Darkface is from. Therefore, Darkface views Ghidorah as a ruler and mother, while also wanting to do the nasty with her. This is exactly how human-level intelligent insects would act. I like it. And that's all the praise I can give. Chrono still acts like an entitled brat who doesn't respect anyone or anything around him, forcing this guy who just wants to mind his own business into being a part of a team because... I don't really watch this final season because of the previous shit I mentioned. I'd also pretty much dropped the game by this point. The power creep was just insane. Every skill was completely free, the G-Zone was all that mattered, and if you didn't buy a case of the newest product, you could just go get fucked. Not a good time at all. Clearly, I'm not alone on this, as this final season of G was the straw that broke the camel's back, and the series got canned. It is objectively true to say that G was bad and a complete failure. Things that are good do not result in a total franchise reboot. G was bad. It tarnished the franchise to the point that the only way to keep it going was to do a full-blown reboot of all Cardfight media. These are just the facts. Part 18. The Reboot. I'll be honest, I got swept into the hype and nostalgia when the reboot was announced. So let's take this chance to go back and look at it all in a more objective light. The reboot got off to a pretty good start. The gameplay was classic Cardfight with all that extra deck shit shaved off. A new value system was instituted, and it was solid and consistent during the first year or so of support. However, there was one huge problem at launch. Gifts. Gifts were just a purely terrible idea. Firstly, they created 3 little boxes that all clans had to fit into. This, unsurprisingly, just made all of the clans feel even more samey than they previously did. And that was already a problem with the game! The second issue was it made going first the best possible thing you could do in the game. If you go first, you get your gifts first, and gifts were so strong that it massively swung the game. Especially since Force and Excel gifts stack on each turn. They don't ever go away. The more you get, the stronger you are. Getting them first is huge. Funny enough, first move advantage was a problem in G2, but in the opposite way, as going second would let you stride first. Honestly, if the Reboot game didn't have gifts, it would have been good. You know, before the massive power creep. But, overall, the Reboot game was okay. It was fun and a huge improvement over G. Again, for a while. However, the anime just got worse and worse. Part 19. Yo, that manga's bad! Whoever decided to base the new anime off the terrible manga should be fired. As briefly mentioned earlier, the entire manga is edgelord cringe. Everything is taken to 11 and in all the wrong ways. Murica is now physically assaulting Aichi in Chapter 1, and then we're just supposed to believe that Aichi's cool with hanging out with him now? Really? We've already covered what happened to Misaki. Emi's gone from terrible Bermuda clan rep to non-existent clan rep. Whee! And hey, let's just double time it through our content, skip an entire arc, and make the fight choreography shit! I was genuinely hyped for the Shin Arc. Nita is my favorite character, and I've always wanted to see the story about how he and Mark saved the world. This plotline was teased all the way back in the OG Season 3, after all. Overall, it didn't disappoint. I just wish that Eska shit wasn't in it. I also totally get why people who aren't a huge fan of Nita didn't like this one. Something I do want to address is that some folks didn't like how Nita and Mark were portrayed in this adaptation. As for that, I disagree. Keep in mind, they are both children in this series, and they act like it. Nita is rash, impulsive, and emotional. However, his driving motivations of loving Cardfight and his family are still there. We can see how this teen became the legendary mentor and fountain of wisdom we see in seasons 1 through 3. Same goes for Mark. Woo! We finally covered the entire anime. There's nothing more to talk about. Certainly not the worst season of all. Oh god. Part 20. Vanguard. If I had a good title for this segment, I would put it here. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Equivalent of Vanguard If would be Paradox from Bonds Beyond Time going on a magical time-hopping adventure with Rebecca Hawkins because Shoddy's long-lost brother Schmotty told them to. If that sounds like fun, don't worry. There's no card games, and the only series these characters get to explore is Zexal. Fuck no! A time-traveling crossover anime celebrating 10 years of Cardfight is a fantastic idea. But Bushi execs are spineless morons and don't have the balls to do it right. Imagine it. Aichi versus Aichi. Majesty Lord Blaster versus Exculpate the Blaster. Having a whole story arc where the characters explore the world of the Cardfight video games, complete with EX gifts. Void versus Brant. And finally getting what we have all wanted since 2014. Team Q4 versus Team Ball du Soleil. Oh, but Speedrobo, you can't cross over card fight and body fight. What game would they play? Easy, Rice Wars. And then finally print some card fight and buddy fight anime Rice Wars, you fucking cowards! Vanguard If could have been a true celebration of everything Cardfight's done, been, and meant to so many people. But instead, all we get is a clip show for V-Series disguised as a bargain tin magical girl anime. This was genuinely the biggest disappointment in Cardfight history for me. Alright, now that we have covered all of the anime, for real this time, There is one last thing that we need to talk about. Part 21. Zero. Okay. I've put off talking about this for long enough. Time to finish this. Vanguard Zero is the worst adaptation of any media in human history. It completely fails to understand and capture its source material on a deep or even surface level. I have already talked about how Zero is a terrible card and video game in great detail, so I'm going to use this segment to talk about how Zero fails as a cardfight product and actively damages the brand. It's obvious to anyone with eyes that Zero is desperately trying to copy Duel Links to get some of that sweet, sweet whale money. However, Bushiroad and Game Studio clearly don't understand what made Duel Links so good in the first place. Let's break it down. On the surface level, Duel Links and Zero are a nostalgia-laden retread of the original anime series for both products. Duel Links lets you play as the anime characters. Each character has a unique superpower and can use any card in the game. In Zero, the characters don't have any superpowers and can only use a very select card pool. This makes Duel Links cool, gives a new dimension to the classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Gameplay, and doesn't frustrate the players. Zero is the exact opposite of everything I just said. In addition, going back to the original anime for Zero is just plain stupid. Why? There's a goddamn reboot going on right now that uses all of the characters from the first series. How is this not going to confuse the living fuck out of a casual fan? Why did Bushi decide to confuse the public by making this game follow the first anime series instead of the reboot? Because Duel Links did it. That's the only possible answer. Both Duel Links and Zero simplify the gameplay for their respective titles. Duel Links cuts the life points in half and takes away 2 field columns. Other than that, still plays exactly like Yu-Gi-Oh! Traps, chains, and all. Zero doesn't play like Cardfight at all. It plays like a boring version of Hearthstone with tighter field constraints and even more luck. Once again, all this change is going to do is piss off the hardcore fans and confuse the casual ones. You know how many times I've been asked, how do I choose my grade 3's triggers in the physical game? More than once! And that's infinitely more times than I should have been asked that question. Why change the rules of the game? 'Cause Duel Links did it. Yuck! I've had people try to defend this choice with, oh, if they didn't do that, the games would have taken too long for mobile. And I call bullshit on that. Cardfight is already perfect for mobile. It takes about 6 turns per player on average to finish a game, and there's already very minimal player interaction. Way less than Duel Links, I might add. If they were really worried about game speed, just drop the damage cap to 5 and make Limit Break activate at 3. Problem solved. However, let's say, sure, they had to change the gameplay this much. Fine, let's run with that. Why are they copying and pasting card skills then? There's only 2 reasons. 1, they are lazy. 2, they are idiots. Choose one. At launch, they already had to completely change one card to make it work in this new gameplay. Guess what? That means you have to change all of them to make the game balanced and fun. Obviously. God! As we can see, Duel Links is already above Zero because Zero tried to copy Duel Links' homework and failed miserably at it. So now let's talk about all the ways Duel Links completely blows Zero out of the water as a mobile game. Shall we? It's the booster packs where Duel Links destroys not only Zero, but all of its contemporaries in the market. Where everyone else decides to go full-blown loot box gambling route with their booster packs, Duel Links decides to make their setup much more living card game-esque. Each box in Duel Links contains a set number of each card. This means that when you buy a pack, you know the exact odds that you will get the card you are looking for. In addition, no matter what, you can always buy the full box outright to guarantee that you get the card you are looking for. The booster pack system just gives you the chance to get it earlier and for cheaper. Honestly, fantastic. It's the system that I use for all of my digital card games. It's just that good. Combining the fun of gambling with the consumer pro practices of living card games. Zero doesn't just go full-blown loot box, they managed to make it even worse than real booster packs. There are no card sets in Zero. When you buy a pack, you are pulling from the entire card pool of the current season. This means that you will never, ever get the card you're looking for or are wanting. I've already done a whole rant on this if you want to hear it. It's genuinely stunning that Game Studio and Bushiroad put their heads together to create a system that makes opening packs feel bad, but boy howdy, they pulled it off. It flabbergasts me to see a product so totally misunderstand everything around it and wind up being so horrendous on every level. Konami can score free dunks on it. Konami is doing better than Bushiroad right now. And Konami is the worst. But, dear viewer, do you know what the worst part of all this is? I'm wrong. I'm the one who doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm the asshole. Why? Vanguard Zero makes money. Insane amounts of money. More money than you or I will ever see in our entire lives. Bushiroad's right. By the only metric that matters, Zero is a success. It's a massive success. So, I'm wrong. I clearly have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm done. Part 22. The lessons Bushiroad has learned. Also overdress. From the complete disasters that are G, the Reboot, and Zero, what has Bushiroad learned? Well, at the start of the Reboot, it looked like Bushiroad learned that constant power creep, unstable metas, and making a bad game resulted in lower sales. However, that's not what they learned. From the moment the first booster of Cardfight Reboot broke pre-order records, Bushiroad said, "Oh, I guess reboots work then." Okay. What they learned is that luring people in with a decent game, getting them hooked, then forcing those players to buy more and more crap to stay relevant is a great way to make money short term. Don't worry about the long term, just reboot when things get bad. Broken bullshit that people need to buy in order to play the game sells cases. Reboots sell cases. These are just the facts. What Bushiroad learned from Zero is that they don't need to try. The Cardfight brand name is all that matters. Content, irrelevant. As long as it wears the skin of Cardfight Vanguard like a horrifying serial killer, that's good enough to make grotesque piles of cash. This is exactly why I've been saying that late G's power creep is going to be here forever. Bushiroad will never stop it. This is exactly why I've been saying that Overdress is just going to be another reboot. They won't call it a reboot this time. Bushiroad knows that will just make people mad. They're going to call it set rotation or something to that effect. So, this is it. I'm done with Cardfight Vanguard, and I'm done with Bushiroad. Once upon a time, they both had that magic spark. However, that was over 5 years ago. It's really sad for me. This game and this company have been such a huge part of my life. Such a great source of inspiration, both good and bad. There's times where I question if Vanguard was ever good. But looking back with you in this video, I know. There was a time when Cardfight Vanguard wasn't just good. It was great. It's time to end my abusive relationship with this game and this company. It's been an adventure, but all good things come to an end. It's time for me to move on. As such, I'm splitting my channel. This main Speedrobo channel is going to be where my video essays go. primarily just exploring card game design. I will be running a full and proper Speedrobo Games channel to talk about all of the projects that I do. And finally, Speedrobo Extra will be where I post my live streams, deck profiles, and any other stuff that I feel like doing. This decision was made partially to help play the algorithm a bit better. I really wanted this to be the video that signified this huge change, this end of an era, so to speak. Thank you all for joining me on this ride. And card folk, I'll see you next time.
何のためにここへ来たの命へと問う声何のために明日へ行くの今のイメージ声霹靂のように